lucky to have one friend. Situations in life coming, you gotta trust them. Found out many times in life you can't trust men. So I rolled solo, that process was an adjustment. Friends let you down, not around when you're needing them. Only here to take like a child, got you feeding them. Better off leaving them like salt, that's the seasoning. Killing black people, that sugar really depleting them. Knowledge over ignorance, rising above predicaments. Fighting for equality, speaking for all the innocence. These drugs they've been giving us, turning our people vigilant. Innocent dissidents, violence is coming imminent. Gotta fall a couple times to learn the lessons faster. Thinking will it matter if I skip a couple chapters? This life that I'm after got me climbing up the ladder. Won't be another rapper, bankrupt with the chapter. On another mission to get rich, it's big chips. Air past the crown on solid ground, the kid switch. On another level, these devils can't block the business. The kid get psycho with a rifle, get your wig split. Change the game passively in the back, so happily. Jersey.
Morning. Welcome to another edition of the Community Soldier Podcast. I'm your host, Justin Counts. Man, let's talk today, man. I want to talk. We got a real conversation for y'all to have this morning on your day. So if you got a minute, just tap in with us. Let's talk. But before we do, let's give a shout out to today's sponsor. Quick shout out to today's sponsor, Printer Source Plus in Jackson, Michigan, proudly serving our area since 2006. Printer Source Plus delivers tailored printing solutions from desktop printers and scanners to wide format copiers and shredders from top brands like Epson, Brothers, Samsung, and Kyocera. Over 19 years, they've been your go-to for top quality and affordability. You need to check them out. Why choose them? Their private label ink and toner reduces your cost by up to 50% compared to OEM, backed by a 100% lifetime guarantee. All right, guys, let's get into it, man.
You know, something that's killing a lot of our black men out here is undiagnosed ADHD. It's as simple as that. Because there's tons of research out there to corroborate this, along with tons of surveys and studies that could statistically prove this. And thousands, if not millions, of professionals from lower paid public school counties and districts out there that could corroborate the fact that there's a lot of boys out here falling through the cracks. Young black boys. See, this is a systemic problem at the core because it creates this inherent war between parents and IEP counselors and school psychologists and administrators out there that are already overworked and overcased and underpaid that could only do but so much. You see, I will never ever support at the core any person, especially if they're a politician or president talking about defunding or taking away money from these things that helps education. Because I know what that means for us. I know what that means for my men, for my women, what that does to us. Because the cracks, let's define what the cracks are. The cracks in society are never forgiving for a person that can't control their impulsive, hyperactive behaviors. Those cracks leads you to a correctional facility. And see, the facilities that need to
See, that's what we're talking about today. See, a lot of our men and women are suffering from undiagnosed either autism, ADHD, especially in the black community, I am a firm believer of this because it took me 41 years of life to realize that I am one of those people. And I am one of those people that this man is speaking on, the people who have been punished for having a disability. We have been punished for having a disability. We have been punished for being on the spectrum. Our behaviors were looked at as more violent. They were looked at as weird. They were looked at as not fitting in with society and societal norms. We were always asked, "What's wrong with you?" frequently throughout our lives. And I had asked this question this morning on our poll, on our Facebook poll. Do you believe autism is a new thing? Do you think it was around back in the day? Or do you think that this is something new caused by either vaccines or the food that we ingest? And I'm really curious to see how that poll turns out. I really want to know what people think about that because there's a lot of stigma that's wrapped around ADHD, autism, and we're not really taught what's true and what's not true. So I wanted to take a deep dive into that today, and let's just discuss it.
Corrects these problems aren't a little room encasing someone to suppress them out of society. It's a test. It's a medication sometimes. It's a conversation. It's a counselor. It's a parent. You see, parents, I need you all to, especially for my parents of young black boys, I need you all to support your young black boys as best as you can. I know, especially when you got a lot going on, maybe 2 or 3 jobs, along with other people bouncing these kids around to help them out. You have to find support. You got to, because
see, we have to find support for our young black boys, because knowing that there's a lot of undiagnosed autism, there's a lot of undiagnosed ADHD within our community, when we recognize those things, especially as educators, we have to do more to support them. And as family members, parents, we have to start getting educated on autism, ADHD, because these things are very prevalent in our society and they're not going away, right? And what I want people to understand today, though, is that this is not a new thing. And how I know is this is not a new thing because of my own personal journey, which I'm going to share throughout today's episode. But for those that's just tuning in, I just want y'all to hear what he said, man. I'm going to just run it back one more time.
Something that's killing a lot of our black men out here is undiagnosed ADHD. It's as simple as that. Because there's tons of research out there to corroborate this, along with tons of surveys and studies that could statistically prove this. And thousands, if not millions, of professionals from lower paid public school counties and districts out there that could corroborate the fact that there's a lot of boys out here falling through the cracks. Young black boys. See, this is a systemic problem at the core, because it creates this inherent war between parents and IEP counselors and school psychologists and administrators out there that are already overworked and overcased and underpaid that could only do but so much. You see, I will never ever support at the core any person, especially if they're a politician or president, talking about defunding or taking away money from these things that helps education. Because I know what that means for us. I know what that means for my men, for my women, what that does to us. Because the cracks, let's define what the cracks are. The cracks in society are never forgiving for a person that can't control their impulsive, hyperactive behaviors. Those cracks leads you to a correctional facility. And see, the facilities that need to correct these problems aren't a little room encasing someone to suppress them out of society. It's a test. It's a medication sometimes. It's a conversation. It's a counselor. It's a parent. You see, parents, I need you all to, especially for my parents of young black boys, I need you all to support your young black boys as best as you can. I know, especially when you got a lot going on, maybe 2 or 3 jobs, along with other people bouncing these kids around to help them out, you have to find support. You got to. Because a son with undiagnosed ADHD becomes a demon trapped inside of a closet in torment. You know, something that's killing a lot of our black men out here is undiagnosed ADHD. It's a simple.
So the reason why I chose this topic to speak on today is basically because this is a topic that hits home for me, especially being a black male with undiagnosed ADHD, and now I'm finding out autism. It took me a long time to understand myself and to understand why I was so different from everybody else and why I didn't really socially fit in with everybody else and the norms. It took me a long time to understand why being in the public, right, was so exhausting for me, right? I didn't understand that. And it took me on a journey of knowledge and understanding, learning, to really find out that a lot of things that, you know, I was feeling was just things that were normal for people on this spectrum, right? I had no idea that a lot of the things that I was doing was actually different from how everybody else do. I didn't realize that the thoughts and feelings inside of my mind that I was having constantly, I didn't realize that that was different from everybody else and how they process the world. And it wasn't until that I started actually talking to a therapist that I actually gotten to the point where I could understand like a lot of the social things that I was going through, a lot of the choices that I make in life and that I've made in life, you know, a lot of understanding that why, right? Writing my autobiography, it's been kind of challenging for me because I'm going back through all of these experiences in life, right? And I'm realizing, like, man, if we only knew what I know now, right? I could have saved myself from a world of trouble, a world of pain. I could have saved myself many days in jail. I could have saved myself down many days in prison, right? And I could have been totally different, right? Knowing what I know now as a 41-year-old man, I realized that due to my trauma, due to my undiagnosed ADHD, due to my undiagnosed autism, right, I spent a lot of my life masking, just watching what everybody else do. That's what masking is, watching what everybody else do and just mimicking it, right? So I would mask to my environment. So whatever my environment was, that's what I would become, right? So if I was around street dudes, I would become street dude. If I was around hustlers, I would become a hustler. If I was around guys that play sports, then I would become a sports athlete, right? I would become whatever it was that was in my environment. And I didn't realize that I was doing this until very late in life, actually. It wasn't until a few weeks ago at Summerfest that I really saw it, what it really looked like in person. And it took for my wife to really show me, to sit me down and show me. She replayed one of my live videos back, and she said that notice how every time you talk to a different vendor, your voice changes, how you talk changes, and it's like almost your whole personality changes depending on who you're talking to. And I really sat down and I looked at that video and I thought, at first I said, this is just part of my communication skills that I've learned over the years. But I realized it's something much, much more deeper than that. It's something a little more into it, right? So I started to study and I started to come across different videos and things that really started to help me understand. And I'm going to show you guys a couple of them.
I'm autistic. Of course, I listen to the same 12 songs all day, every day, on repeat. I'm autistic. Sometimes I ask questions that really don't got an answer. Who was God's dad? I'm autistic. I won't eat a hot dog, but I eat the fuck out of a piece of bologna. I'm autistic. I walk on my tippy toes everywhere I go. I'm autistic. If I buy some of the same thing over and over, I'm gonna keep the wrappers from it. I'm autistic. Of course, people tell me all the time, you don't look autistic, like I can just perform autism. I'm autistic. I eat the same foods over and over and over and over and over again and never get tired. You autistic too. What's your piece to the puzzle?
What's your piece of the puzzle? See, a lot of us don't even realize that we are on the spectrum, because back in the day, I'm going to tell you, growing up, not knowing that you have autism or ADHD, back in the day, a lot of things wasn't socially accepted, right? I realized during writing my autobiography, I said, man, because I was struggling with this idea that I could be autistic. I said, that's just not possible. Like, how could someone so high functioning, so intelligent, so aware of themselves, how could you be autistic? Like, it's just not possible. I saw a note written in my chart from my therapist, and she was like, possible autistic. And I'm like, there's no way that I could be autistic. And then I started to really write my autobiography, and I started to realize like certain things about myself that I've been doing for years. Like I love listening to the shower run. Listening to the shower run is like the most peaceful thing to me. I sit in the bathroom sometimes to think. I might run the shower and I think about new ideas. I think about new hustles. Sometimes I replay conversations that from earlier or situations, or I think about societal issues while that water is running. It calms me and it soothes me. It always has my whole life, right? I didn't realize these things. I didn't realize that the way that I eat is even autistic. I eat the same meals all the time. Chicken, rice, and corn. Steak, rice, spinach. Pizza. Chinese food, right? tacos every once in a while, spaghetti every once in a great while, same meals over and over and over and over again. What else is autistic about Justin and how he eats? Justin don't like ketchup, no mustard, no relish, no type of toppings, mayo. I don't eat potato salad. I don't eat so many things, right? I don't eat. I tried to force myself to eat a salad because I convinced myself I'm gonna go vegan, right, for my health. I said I'm gonna go vegan. I researched it for months. The guy that don't eat vegetables or fruits, all of a sudden you're gonna go vegan. So I tried to force myself because I said, you're a grown man. You should be able to eat whatever you put into your mouth, and you should be able to chew it no matter whether you like it or not. You should be able to swallow it and get it down. So my wife watched me. I took a dry salad. I said, I'm going to start with a dry salad. I ain't going to put nothing on it because y'all know I don't like toppings. I don't like salad dressing. I don't like ketchup. I don't like mayo. I don't like mustard. I don't like none of it. So for me, I said, let me start with a dry salad. I tried to force the lettuce down my throat and chew it, and I couldn't do it. As soon as the texture hit and I get the crunching on it, oh my God, it was just terrible. It was the worst thing that I ever experienced in my life, and immediately I start to throw up. I can't force it. I couldn't force myself to eat this, and I didn't understand why. I'm like, why? This doesn't make any sense to me, right? So I had to give that up, and I even started talking to my doctor. Right? Doc, man, I don't understand, man. I'm 40 years old, and I can't eat fruit. I don't like fruit. I don't like a lot of vegetables. I eat the same stuff over and over and over. What's wrong with me? Her answer to me was, oh, let's get you a food panel test done. Let's see what you're allergic to. I'm like, what's the point of that? Right? So even with our own doctors and our own way that we're treated, right, we don't get pointed to, hey, you may be autistic. It's like they don't even think about it like that's a possibility because they see someone so high functioning and that they think like, oh, there's no way that he can be on the spectrum. But this is what I'm finding is not the case, because check this man out.
What happens when black brilliance is neurodivergent? All right, I'm gonna tell you in 3 parts. Now keep in mind, I don't edit these, y'all, so I might ramble. I might stutter. I might forget a word or two. I'm not going to edit them because one of my reasons for doing videos like this is so I can overcome perfectionism. And that is one of the things that black brilliance, when it's neurodivergent, experiences. Perfectionism is a huge dynamic that many of us experience, mostly all of us, and to varying degrees.
It's a fact.
It is no surprise that black Americans are going to experience a heightened level of perfectionism. A lot of us, like myself, were raised by people who were the descendants of enslaved Africans. And that experience has been passed down. You got to be better. You got to be more. You can't let people think negatively about you. You got to be the best because they're going to try to minimize your experience. And when you combine ableism and the stigma from people wanting neurodivergent folks to be neurotypical.
Pause. See, because he's hitting on some key areas, man, especially for myself, right? See, I grew up with family members, right? Black family members who come from slavery, right? We're descended from slaves directly. So growing up, my lessons were always taught that you don't have to be dumb because you're black. Like, you need to be better than everybody else. You need to make sure that you're doing right. You need to make sure that in school that you paying attention, that you're not dumb, that you excelling more because they expecting for you to be this way. So you got to make sure that you do more to show them that you're not that way. My grandmother used to make sure that we were that we taught proper English around her because she didn't like Ebonics. She didn't like us talking in Ebonics and things like that and slang and things like that, because she wanted to make sure that we understood how to communicate properly so that we didn't represent ourselves in a bad light. So as a black man growing up, we've had that pressure on us all day long. And a lot of us grew up like that, where you have this pressure to fit in with societal norms, right? And even in our own households, right, this pressure remains for us to fit into societal norms. And when you don't understand neurodivergency, right, when you don't understand neurodivergency, you don't understand why your child doesn't fit into societal norms, so you put extra pressure on them to fit into societal norms. And that was me. I was the kid that was beat by my dad all the time because I'm acting out in class, or because I don't have good grades. I don't because I didn't listen, or I didn't remember to take out the trash. I didn't remember to clean the kitchen, or I didn't turn this project in on time, right? I would get beat. I would get whooped. I would get whooped all the time for these things. And I wrote this in my book, which I don't want to like kill too much of my story, but I wrote this in a book. I remember one of the last whoopings my dad gave me, and he just had this like utter shock look, like this bewildered look on his face, and he just asked me. He said, "What's wrong with you? Like, what's wrong with you?" And that question stuck in my head for a long time. Like, what's wrong with you? I remember being in prison, in quarantine, sitting in that cell, and I remember feeling defeated. Like, man, you about to sit in here for anywhere between 2 to 5 years. Like, what's wrong with you? How did you go from going to the military? You was an aircraft mechanic. Like, I was an aircraft mechanic, a technician working on billion-dollar aircrafts as a fuel system technician. I would go inside the wings of an aircraft in the dark with just nothing but a glow stick and non-spark tools, and I would work inside of aircrafts as a 19-year-old, 20-year-old man. How do I go from that to being locked up in prison, right, at 29, right? What's wrong with you? So that question stuck with me forever in my life. Like, what's wrong with you? Why do you keep doing this stupid stuff? And then I started to learn why. But for years, if we would have known more about this, I could have had more tools in my toolbox. And this is why we're having these conversations. Just listen to the rest of what he's saying.
That perfectionism heightens. By the way, perfectionism is like the grease in systems of oppression. This is how these gears keep going. Systems of capitalism, systems of white supremacy, systems of patriarchy, they all operate on the fuel of perfectionism. Second thing that happens when Black brilliance is neurodivergent, we experience a heightened level of interlocking systems of oppression. That term was coined by Dr. Patricia Hill Collins, who took the theory of intersectionality, which was originally coined by Dr. Kimberly Crenshaw in 1989. She originally took that theory, and expanded it, along with other brilliant Black women scholars like Bell Hooks and some other folks. So Patricia Hill Collins, who is absolute genius and a legend, she took that theory and expanded it. And so interlocking systems of oppression has to deal with all of these things that we're experiencing that force itself down upon us. So me as a Black man, not intersectional, but I'm a Black neurodivergent man. I have disabilities. I have neurodivergent conditions. I have anxiety. I have depression. I have ADHD. I'm autistic. Probably got some cluster B stuff going on too. Whole nother conversation for another point in time. I am experiencing the ableism from that, the racism from that, in a multitude of situations. And it is maddening. The third thing that I want to talk about is...
See, for those that don't understand what ableism is, ableism is the idea that we have in our society that you're normal and you should be able to do those things, right? And that's the problem that people don't understand, that when you have a disability is that you're not normal. It's not normal to think the way that you think. And that's why I argue with people so much when they talk about, oh, some people just need to get to work. Okay, let me explain for you what it feels like for a person that's neurodivergent to go to work, right? First of all, let me just tell you, I have autism and I have ADHD, right? I haven't been diagnosed with autism because the test to get diagnosed, it costs a lot of money, but I've already come to the understanding, right? Enough of my behaviors and learning the things about the spectrum to understand where I'm at. But the ADHD, I have been diagnosed with that, right? And I only found that out from going to work, was how I found out that I was ADHD. See, because for years, I've always had this problem. I would get the best jobs in the world, right? Because I'm highly intelligent, right? I can do a job, I can do a task very well, right? And when the job is interesting to me, right? I perform above average when a job is interesting to me. And that's what would happen during my life. Jobs would be interesting to me and I would perform and be one of the best workers around. And then all of a sudden, 3 months, 6 months in, sometimes a year in, then all of a sudden the job would lose interest, right? It would become like menial, the tasks, right? The tasks become repetitive. I start to see all the flaws in the system. And then all of a sudden it becomes extremely hard for me to stay in that job. And I would often quit jobs. When I was younger, I would quit these jobs after 3 months, 6 months, a year in. And a lot of times I would blame it on my child support, right? Paying 55% of my child support, income to child support. I would blame it on child support. But as I got older, I realized that it wasn't just that. It was more than just that. That wasn't even a factor really into the reason why I was quitting these jobs. So as I got older, I started realizing what was the reason why you were quitting these jobs. And a lot of times it would have to do with my undiagnosed ADHD. See, ADHD in black men, I'm going to tell you what it looks like. One of the main things I could tell you is the lack of emotional regulation. That's like the biggest thing for me. It was the lack of emotional regulation. I would blow up on people and cuss you out in a heartbeat. I would fight men. I would fight guys in a heartbeat. I didn't like people telling me what to do. You know, that oppositional defiance. That comes a lot with ADHD, right? You just don't like people telling you what to do. And at first I thought it was just men, right? But I realized it was women too. Like, I still struggle with that. My wife would be like, "Can you take out the trash?" And I'd be like, "What?" "Yeah, I'll take it out. I know it needs to be out," you know? And I have to check myself, like, yo, you acting like that for? She just telling you a basic thing that need to get done, right? So for years, going through that undiagnosed, right, and not understanding or knowing why I'm feeling this way, I was just acting out on my emotions. I was just acting out on my feelings, right? And all the time, like, we have this pressure, like he's saying, to be perfect, right? Especially in a white-dominated society, right? I have this pressure as a black man to fit into societal norms. I have this pressure as a black man to speak proper English. I have this pressure as a black man to make myself look total opposite of all the stereotypes that are said of me, right? When I go to a job, I have to work harder to show that I'm not lazy. I have to work harder to show that I'm not a ghetto guy. I'm not a, you know, we have to work harder to show these, to express these things. It's like we have to constantly prove ourselves and prove our self-worth to people to get them to understand that we're not what society says that we are, right? So we have this constant pressure in our minds daily of fighting that feeling, fighting those anxieties, fighting that depression, fighting these stigmas of having to be perfect, right? And when you're a neurodivergent person that's also highly intelligent, you see and you feel things that other people don't see and feel. And that's the thing that he's talking about.
We get overlooked. When black brilliance is neurodivergent, we get overlooked to a greater degree, typically.
Yeah.
Or we get put on a pedestal as the token or as the exception. So one way that
that's how I feel. I feel like a lot of times I feel like I get put on a pedestal and I don't like it. I'm not comfortable with that at all. People praise me for things that I've done in my life, and I'm not comfortable with that either, because to me, it's just, I'm going through the same struggle as everybody else. And even still today, I go through the same struggle as everybody else. And then I also make the same mistakes as other people, right? Over and over and over again. I have the same anxiety, fears, depressions as everybody else. So for me to be put on a pedestal, it just makes me uncomfortable. And I often shy away from that. And people don't understand why I don't, like, take on a greater position or greater responsibility, or why I don't do more. And my response to them is always that that's not my position and that's not my role and that's not what I'm trying to do, right? And they just don't understand, right? But
this looks is, most of y'all seen this video probably have no idea who I am. But I think I'm pretty important in the neurodiversity movement. I'm a licensed clinical mental health counselor. I have 2 master's degrees. I am pretty authentic. I do talks across the country. I have worked on an international level doing consulting. I'm a licensed clinical addiction specialist. And I'm wrapping up a PhD, and I'm doing a dissertation study.
I just wanted y'all to see that, you know, this is an example of someone who is highly intelligent, right? He's in society, we would think that this is a normal guy, right? This is just a pretty normal guy. But in all actuality, he's letting us know that our idea of normal is actually flawed, and that we as a people in society, we have to do more to support all type of people, right? Because we understand that school is not designed for people that are neurodivergent. And that was my whole problem. Like, reading my autobiography, you'll see how every system in life, every step of the way, it failed me. And it failed me because we didn't understand mental health, right? And that's the biggest part here today that I want y'all to understand. So check this out too. I want y'all to hear this one.
Have been many studies that show that neurotypical people do not like autistics, even when they don't know that they're autistic. Neurotypicals have really embedded social norms. They have socialized to the world around them in a different way than autistic people have. And this is because they feel safer when there's conformity. They have less that they have to try to predict about somebody else, the more like them that person is. So even without understanding what it is about you that they are worried about, they're worried. It takes extra cognitive effort.
There's a certain advantage that comes with being neurodivergent. Now hear me out. I have ADHD. I was born with it. I didn't ask God for ADHD. If I could flip the script, I probably wouldn't have it. But given the circumstances, all right, there is a certain advantage that comes with being neurodivergent.
Yes, it is.
All the trauma, all the pain, all the years of feeling different, all the years of feeling like an outsider, has brought you to a level where you understand yourself more than the average person. The depths to which you understand yourself and your insecurities and your flaws and the things that you don't like, the things that you want to work on, you're so self-aware, which can be, you know, a curse and a blessing. But you know so much about yourself, the world, and the way that you see things is a more, I don't want to say is right, but you see things for what they actually are.
Yep. Pause that real quick, because I had to play this because this was so, like, satisfying for me to hear, because recently I was told, like, in the comment of feedback, that a lot of people just don't like me. They don't rock with me, especially, you know, people that I want to connect with, right? A lot of the youth, right? They think that I may be down talking to them, or they think that I may think that I'm better than them or something like that with how I talk. But really, that's just a simple misunderstanding of me, right? Because of how I communicate. One, I'm from New Jersey, so growing up in New Jersey, we talk rough, we talk fast, we talk without a lot of emotion, you know what I mean? We don't have like a lot of emotional regulation skills, so a lot of things we may say come harsh, right? So a lot of people don't like the way that I talk like that. And I realized that a lot of the reasons why I'm not as well liked sometimes in circles that I want to be in is because I don't engage with people how people that are really like neurotypical do, you know, and this explains it.
This is very scary to neurotypical people. This is extremely scary because they live in a world where, you know, society's norms and, you know, people's job titles matter, and there's like a hierarchy with which we have to adhere by. Yeah. When you're neurodivergent, none of that matters.
None of it.
You can give a rat's ass about that stuff.
None of it.
You have your life that you're worried about. You have your own pain, your own trauma. Things are already hard for you. The years of trauma that's led to CPTSD, the childhood trauma that's affecting your relationships, the lack of systems that you may have, or the system that you have that's not working as efficiently as you would.
Whoo, he be preaching, man. And then he hitting so many subjects for us as black men, right? One of the things as I was getting on this journey of understanding neurodivergency and understanding ADHD, being a black man with ADHD, one of the biggest challenges for me was that there was a huge lack of representation. There's a huge lack of representation. So there's not many black people in this space that actually talk about mental health or that talk about neurodivergency. So for me, it was hard to find somebody that I connect with, talking to, because this is such a white dominated space, right? And a lot of times in our culture, in our black culture, we have a problem with stigmatizing mental health, and we don't believe in it. We think that it's just something that they putting on us to help us get medicated, or, you know, this and that. They trying to put us on the school to prison pipelines. So growing up as a kid, I was actually told things like, stop acting retarded. Like, why you going to school acting retarded? Like, I was actually told that, like, you going to school acting retarded. Like, go to school and do what you're supposed to do, and get good grades and focus on your work. Stop talking in class. You going to school acting dumb. And for me, I didn't understand what they were saying. Like, I didn't understand what they meant. Like, what do you mean acting retarded? I'm not doing nothing that's, to me, I wasn't doing anything that was really bad, in my opinion. Like, I didn't really understand what the big deal was. I mean, yeah, I was talking in class, but all the kids talked in class, right? Yeah, I didn't understand. I thought the schoolwork was boring, right? I thought a lot of the schoolwork was boring, and it was because I was highly intelligent, so a lot of the work wasn't challenging for me. In high school, I figured out through, like, the teacher's syllabus in the beginning of the school year, I could look at a teacher's syllabus and I could tell from how she structured her grades what I had to do and what I didn't need to do. So this is how smart I was in 9th grade. I could look at your syllabus and see, okay, the test is this much, the last project is this much, homework is this much, classwork is this. Okay, I don't have to do no classwork. I don't have to do no homework. As long as I ace these tests and pass this final project, I'm going to leave up out of here with a C. And if I get a C, I ain't going to get whooped on too much. And my young brain understood that. So I figured out ways to take shortcuts through most of school, because most of it was boring. Most of it was repetitive. Most of it wasn't designed for my neurodivergent brain. And having parents that didn't understand that, having parents that didn't understand what you were feeling on the inside, what you were feeling, what you were going through in life, and just being punished for those things, that was my experience. I was punished for having ADHD. I was punished for not being able to sit still. Why you can't sit your ass down in class? Beat your butt. Whoop your butt. You get wore out. You get wore out. So I'm saying all of this because I've come to a realization, like, and it's a crazy thing to realize when you're 41. Like, I'm 41 and I realized, like, a lot of the ass whoopings that I got through my life wasn't my fault. Like, it wasn't my fault. Like, and I don't say it in as a thing that I'm mad at my parents or nothing like that. I ain't mad at them. They just didn't understand. Because if we had this science and this information for us to understand, maybe it would have been different for me, right? So as I get older, I realize that a lot of my behaviors, a lot of my patterns was all because of me being neurodivergent, me having ADHD, right? Why you feel like that? Why you have these thoughts in your head? Why your mind don't never turn off? Why you really socially awkward? Why you do things other people don't do? You know, all of these questions I had to answer for myself, and it's not a fun thing to go through in life, right? So I'm thankful for guys like this because they can help you teach and help you understand some of these things. This is a guy who actually became a psychologist because he experienced all of these things just like me. He experienced what it was like to be a black male with ADHD and neurodivergent at the same time, right? And living in a culture and a society where that stuff is not real, right? This guy is an African guy too. I think he's Nigerian, if I'm not mistaken. So in the Nigerian culture, like, they really don't believe in mental illness. Like, they really don't believe in that stuff. So coming over here to America, his parents were always taught him that stuff wasn't real and that he needed to focus and he needed to do all of these different things. And it wasn't until that he got into high school that he got a teacher that really recognized that he was struggling with this ADHD, that she started to engage with him. She tried to engage with his parents to get him medication. They wasn't running with that, so they didn't subscribe. But what she did was she started tailoring his education to the way he thinks, to help him, right, specifically. And that was a great thing. And I said, if more teachers understood that, if more parents understood that, we could help more people. So this is why I want to get on this journey.
For it to work could be frustrating you. There's so much that you have to think about when you're a neurodivergent person. So when you pop back into the neurotypical world and you see how people are living, you're going to come into that world with a sense of authenticity. You are okay with who you are. And even if you're not, you're working towards that. But you're peeling back the layers. You're fighting like hell to unmask. And when you're neurodivergent, especially when I'm not sure like at what age, but I feel like in your late 20s to early 30s, as a neurodivergent person, you start to really put a lot of intentional effort into unmasking. And you ask yourself questions like, who am I? And oftentimes you find that you don't know who you are.
That's so true. For me, my unmasking began in my late 20s. In my late 20s, I want to say that. I want to say by the time I was 26, 27, right before I went to prison, I was starting to get to this stage in my life where I started to ask myself, like, what was real and what wasn't real? Like, because I started to learn that I was really good at fitting in places, right? I could fit in anywhere that I went. No matter where I was at in the world, I could become whatever I needed to become to fit in, right? So I started to get to this place in life where I started to realize like certain things really wasn't interesting to me. Like I was never interested in going to the strip clubs. I was never really interested in like hanging out, going to clubs or going to parties and things like that. I realized that even when I did go to those things and I was masking to fit in, highly functioning in these settings, I realized that this wasn't actually what I really wanted to do. Right? That I was just doing this because I thought that this is what everybody else did. I thought this was the norms. I thought that this is just what was expected for me to do, right? I started to realize that a lot of things that I was enjoying, I wasn't really actually enjoying. I was just masking and I was just being like everybody else or what society thought that I should be, right? So I started to really look at myself and say, what do I want? What do I want to be? What do I want to do? Like, what do you like, right? And I started to make more of an intentional effort to just do that. Like I stopped caring about what people thought. I have a friend that said, she was like, man, Jers, you don't care what people think at all. Like you be yourself in the most authentic way. And I said, that's because I'm making more of an effort to. So I dress the way I want to dress. Like I don't let society subscribe to me what fashion is. Like, to me, clothes are nothing than just a means to an end. Like, it's just to cover myself while I'm outside, right? To keep my body warm, or, you know what I'm saying? So for me, fashion is it's nothing. Like, I like to wear clothes that match. I like to wear colors that match. But as far as brands and names and things like that, I could care less, really. Like, you know what I'm saying? I don't subscribe to fashion the way other people do. And it's because I got to the point in my life where I stopped caring what other people think. Like, I don't care what you think. Like, I'm going to wear the Walmart shirt. I'm going to wear these pants that I got out of St. Vincent's. I don't care what you think, right? And when you get to this place of understanding of yourself, right, it's like freeing. It's totally freeing because now I don't have that financial burden of trying to keep up with y'all. I don't got to worry about spending $200-300 on a pair of sneakers that just dropped because I'm trying to fit in with y'all to look cool. See, my understanding in my mind, the way my brain works, it's like, to me, I see value in other things, so I don't have to pretend anymore, right? I don't have to pretend anymore. And that's that part of unmasking that he's talking about. A lot of men are getting to that space where they're starting to take the mask off, and they're like, yo, man, look, I watch anime. You know what I'm saying? Like, so what? You know what I mean? I bought my son a yo-yo, right? I bought my son a yo-yo, and I was watching him play with it, and I got hyped, and I bought me one too. You know what I'm saying? And I was at the laundromat the other day in the hood, and I was playing with my yo-yo, and I'll never forget, I seen these little boys. They walked up to me. They was like, yo, that's dope. They like, where you learn to do that? And I just told them, I said, man, this is just something that we always had as kids. You know what I'm saying? They bringing them back. And these little black kids from the hood, you know, they watching me play with the yo-yo. They see me, You know what I'm saying? I'm hood. I'm out there smoking, but I'm playing with my yo-yo at the same time. And they like, damn, this nigga over there playing with a yo-yo. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Showing them something different. It's okay to be different. And I tell kids that all the time. It's okay to be different. It's okay to like something different. It's okay to do something different. It's okay to not fit in with societal norms. Like, you don't have to play basketball. You don't have to play football. Sometimes you might just want to play tennis, or you might want to be a soccer player, or you might not even want to play sports, and you might just want to do archery or something. It's okay to be different, and we have to encourage our children that, especially when you're living in, you're living in the hood, because we just think that everything is normal. That's supposed to be normal. We're supposed to be a certain way, and everything is supposed to act a certain way, be a certain way. And that's just not the truth, man. And we end up putting more pressures on people. We end up causing depression on people, anxiety, and all types of stuff. So I think we need to take more time to learn, man. That's why conversations like this need to be had.
28, 34, 38, 41, 42, 55. This could be at any age. But when you realize that you don't know who you are, you go on this quest, you go on this journey to find out who you are and to create a safe space to where you can be yourself. Yeah, when we go out to, Walmart, or we go out into the wild.
That's where I'm at. Creating those spaces where you could just be yourself. I think that's the most important thing right now for me in life, is making sure that I'm in a space where I'm actually comfortable with being my authentic self. And a lot of people don't never get a chance to get to that spot. You know what I mean? And that's the sad part, is we have to do more to make sure that everybody feels safe and that everybody can be represented in a way that they feel the most comfortable, right? Society tells us that we're supposed to act a certain way, we're supposed to be a certain way, we're supposed to do a certain thing a certain way. And when people don't fit into that mold, then we label them as different, we label them as weird, right? We do all of these different things, and we don't even give them a chance as a person, in my opinion. And that's the sad part, when you realize that a lot of us have this same problem in neurodivergency, right? A lot of us have the same problem with ADHD, but a lot of us have the same problem with not understanding it and not knowing it. So we get looked at as being hard to deal with. A lot of black women with undiagnosed ADHD get looked at as angry. You can't deal with them because of their attitude, right? And that's how it gets represented. But let me show y'all some more, man. Let me walk y'all through a couple more videos. Hopefully, if it'll play. I don't know why my internet tripping. We had the fastest internet they make in Comcast, but for some reason the network is being shady today. Let's see what's going on. Hopefully we get this straight, Comcast. But anyway, a lot of things that when it comes to undiagnosed ADHD, man, it's really it's crazy, man. It's a lot of it is eye-opening. A lot of it is like things that you would have never understood, you'd have never expected. But it's eye-opening when we get to see some of these things in person and in real time, and get to understanding why you've been this way your whole life, right? Because those are the things that nobody has told us. Like, this is why you act the way that you act, and this is why you are the way that you are. And it's because you had this undiagnosed ADHD or this undiagnosed autism that you had to deal with. So I asked people earlier, what did they think? Was the autism a new thing? Was it because of the vaccines or the food? Or do they think it was just because a lot of people weren't diagnosed? And I just checked the poll, and it looks like, let me see what people are saying. We got 14 votes right now, so 73% of people said that yes, it was, but not diagnosed. A couple people say no, it's the food. I have one user, Gene, says, my father-in-law was definitely on the spectrum and had OCD, and he was an older and he was older than vaccines. That's a fact. See, a lot of us, a lot of us were on the spectrum, and we were never diagnosed. So therefore, because we were never diagnosed,
OCD.
because we was never diagnosed, I'm sorry, we don't even understand that we on the spectrum. But the reality is, a lot of us just went through life undiagnosed, and we became efficient at masking. We become highly efficient at masking. So we're looking at our poll today. Our poll says, was autism a thing back in the day, or something caused by a food or vaccine? And it looks like most people believe that yes, it was, but it just was undiagnosed. And that was the case. A lot of us don't realize that when you're on the spectrum, people on the spectrum, we take in special interests, right? And these special interests oftentimes dominate our lives. And we didn't realize that that was a sign of being on the spectrum. We just thought that you was just a little different. You know, Grandpa might have collected train sets. And he might have collected train sets to the point where this was all he did. And when he passed away, there was a whole collection of train sets that was longer than your town's main street. And we thought that that was like normal. You know, Grandpa had a hobby, right? He had a passion. So all he talked about was trains. Or Grandma, right? Grandma might have loved cooking. She might have loved cooking so much that she cooked when nobody was there to even eat it. She'd be passing out plates at the local church and the community, friends, family, neighbors. She just loved to cook, so she just cooked every day. So all she talked about was cooking. All she focused on was cooking. That sense of hyper focus, right? That sense of hyper focus, focusing on one thing and that becoming the dominant factor in your life, right? It might be gambling. It might be dogs, right? Dog training. And you know every little detail about a dog breed or breeds of dogs. Or you might be a car guy and just know every detail about Fords and Chevys, things that normal people don't remember. But all of a sudden he know what the 350 block and this and that, camshafts and things that everybody else don't know. You know, there was a lot of signs. Or that extremely picky eater that don't like ketchup, mustard, all those things. You know, there were signs. That one kid at school that didn't really talk to nobody. Everybody thought he was a little weird. You know, there were signs. It was just back in the day, like, it just wasn't really, like, socially accepted. We didn't understand the science of it. You know, like I told y'all earlier, I would get told that, you know, when I get in trouble in school, it was like, why you acting retarded? Why you going there acting dumb? You got these people thinking you'd slow. That's what I used to get told. Like, you got these people thinking you slow. And the whole time, they wasn't understanding that I had ADHD. And that for me, sitting still was like impossible. It was impossible for me to sit still. But back then, we didn't understand these things, right? So we overlooked a lot of things. And when you grew up in a black household in the 80s and 90s, you wasn't allowed to throw tantrums, right? So I learned at a very early age in life, you throw a tantrum if you want, you're going to get your butt whooped. So for me, in my autism and my spectrum journey, I never lashed out with the tantrums. Because if you lashed out, you got your ass whooped. I'll just be real. You got your ass whooped. So a lot of our children growing up, we learned that didn't fly in our cribs. So you take on some of the other things, the vocal stemming, the coping mechanisms like rocking, tapping, biting at the fingernails, all of these different things that we do, fidgeting constantly, they express themselves in other ways. And that's what I realized about being neurodivergent.
Have been many studies that show that neurotypical people do not like autistics, even when they don't know that they're autistic.
I wanted to bring y'all back to this video though.
You know, something that's killing a lot of our black men out here is undiagnosed ADHD. It's as simple as that. Because there's tons of research out there to corroborate this, along with tons of surveys and studies that could statistically prove this. And thousands, if not millions, of professionals from lower paid public school counties and districts out there that could corroborate the fact that there's a lot of boys out here falling through the cracks. Young black boys. See, this is a systemic problem at the core because it creates this inherent war between parents and IEP counselors and school psychologists and administrators out there that are already overworked and overcased and underpaid that could only do but so much. You see, I will never ever support at the core any person, especially if they're a politician or president talking about defunding or taking away money from these things that helps education. Because I know what that means for us. I know what that means for my men, for my women, what that does to us. Because the cracks, let's define what the cracks are. The cracks in society are never forgiving for a person that can't control their impulsive, hyperactive behaviors. Those cracks leads you to a correctional facility. And see, the facilities that need to correct these problems aren't a little room encasing someone to suppress them out of society. It's a test. It's a medication sometimes. It's a conversation. It's a counselor. It's a parent. You see, parents, I need you all to, especially for my parents of young black boys, I need you all to support your young black boys as best as you can. I know, especially when you got a lot going on, maybe 2 or 3 jobs, along with other people bouncing these kids around to help them out, you have to find support. You got to. Because a son with undiagnosed ADHD becomes a demon trapped inside of a closet in torment.
Becomes a demon trapped inside of torment. That's what I became. And that's what I'm looking to show in my book. Being undiagnosed with ADHD, I got disinterested in school, started running the streets, right? Started spending my time on things that I was interested in, but also developing coping mechanisms that was just bad for me, right? I started smoking in the 6th grade. People don't really like me or how I be showing up with the vape. You know, I vape on the videos. And I try to let people know that this is a bad habit that has been with me a long time. But I've been smoking cigarettes since I was in the 6th grade, regularly, right? All throughout the military, all throughout, life. I've smoked these cigarettes, and it's been my coping mechanism to deal with life stress, to deal with the anxiety that I feel, because even doing something like this gives me extreme amounts of anxiety, right? Extreme amounts of social anxiety. People see me and they think that, oh man, I don't know how you get on stage, and I don't know how you be up there talking, and they remember me when I rap. They're like, yo, how you get up there and rap and all this stuff? Like, I could never do that, and I could do that. And it's crazy to me because, like, I have the most, like, craziest social anxiety that one could ever have. Almost every time when you've talked to me in public, if you really pay attention, like, there's really signs that you can see that I'm not comfortable if you really knew what you were looking for. But people misread the signs oftentimes, and they take it for other things when they don't understand. Like me, I don't really like making eye contact. That's one of the signs that pointed me to my neurodivergency, right? But see, I was raised on that a man makes eye contact when you're speaking to someone. So I fight that daily. So a lot of times what that looks like for me is when I'm talking to people, people think that I'm looking at them, but actually I'm looking past you. I might be focusing on past your ear right? I might be looking at your hair or something like that, but I'm not looking you in your eyes. Especially like women and things like that. I'm not really looking in your eyes. I don't know why that is a thing for me, but it is a thing for me. And if you notice, a lot of times when I'm talking to you, I might be looking down, or I might be looking past you. And that's a sign of my neurodivergency. And a lot of times I'm not uncomfortable. A lot of times I'm not uncomfortable. It's just I'm not comfortable staring in your eyes, right? That's just one of the signs that you may see. Another sign that you'll see me in public. You'll notice a lot of times I interact with people in spurts, right? I come and go. I bounce in and out. And a lot of times, if you really pay attention, I'm by myself. That's by design, by my design. And that's part of my neurodivergency, right? People think that I'm so comfortable being in these social settings, being in public, and it's because I've had years of experience of masking to be able to do these things, right? I'm not truly comfortable talking to people. I'm not truly comfortable being in public spaces, and I have extreme anxieties doing those things. So for me, to be able to do those things, I have to prepare myself a lot more than the average person does to do those things, if that makes sense. Like, and I have to have my coping mechanisms, which if you know me, you'll know my coping mechanisms, right? This is one of them. This little vape device. This little vape device keeps me calm. It keeps me, keeps me cool-headed. Sometimes it gives me a time to breathe and sometimes to reset my thoughts, because there's always a million thoughts running in this brain of mine, right? So I just want to share just a couple more videos, man. One more I really want y'all to hear.
That man is autistic. Y'all saw the video. Hi, and if it's your first time here, my name is Torian. I'm your favorite sister with ADHD. And I thought for Black Men's Mental Health Awareness Month, we could look at how neurodivergence is showing up in our communities, or could be showing up in our communities, and being misinterpreted as character flaws. In my TED Talk, I spoke extensively about the importance of us embracing neurodivergence as a form of diversity, and understanding that the people who are neurodivergent in our community are fulfilling a niche, and we need them to fulfill the niche so that we can sustain in later generations. Stay tuned. Okay, I'm back for part 3. So one of the things that I want to look at now is people with autism often are going to have some specialized interests. And I think a lot of times with interest, people kind of know the normal things like your video games, but I don't think we look at some of the other things that over time our people have been known to collect. Autism isn't new. Does your man, father, boo, boyfriend collect every single Jordan that comes out? Is your man aware of every single fact of his respective sport? Does your man watch wrestling day in and day out, know every single thing about it? Does your man collect things? Does he have Lego set on top of Lego set on top of Lego set? Or maybe your granddaddy has Buffalo Soldier memorabilia all over the house. Or he's always outside fixing on cars. We love a nerdy king, but a lot of times those specialized interests are a telltale sign. And I don't mean just he likes it. I mean, he knows every detail about it. Perhaps your man is a movie file, and he knows every single movie and every single quote. And if it was up to him, that's all he would talk about every day. Look, we love that. We love that they have interests and hobbies. But if you see that they are hyper-focused on those type of things, nothing wrong with it at all. So this is not right here to demonize. This is more so just to raise awareness about those specialized interests. So if they are really locked in on one or two things and they know everything about it, and if it was up to them, that's all that they would talk about, that is a telltale sign that maybe that man has autism.
Telltale sign. See, a lot of us, like I said, a lot of us go through life undiagnosed, and we don't know, right? We just don't know. And a lot of things get mistaken for being weird or being narcissistic is a big one. Fellas, if your woman keeps telling you that you're a narcissist, don't always get mad or think that, she just mislabeling you. Sometimes, actually, a lot of times, people with ADHD are going to come off as narcissistic. And it's because you have such a hyper awareness of yourself, your feelings, how people treat you, you pattern recognize, all these different things that come with ADHD. And when you talk to other people, sometimes it seems like self-fulfilling or, that you're only focusing on yourself. But it's really that you just have a hyper awareness of how things make you feel, how people make you feel, right? Sometimes people can say things to me, right? And it's not always, it's not always what you say, but how you say it, right? Sometimes. And for me, that can totally like destroy my understanding of a person, or it could totally like destroy how I feel about a person, just how they say something to me, right? You can, like, for instance, just for an example, I was in Sam's Club one day, right? And there was an older white gentleman. He was trying to help me do the self-checkout. And he's like, let me show you how to work the app. And it was just a basic thing. Let me show you how to work the app. But in my brain automatically heard, like, oh, you's a dumb Negro. Let me show this dumb Negro how to work this basic stuff, because I know this dumb Negro can't possibly fathom to understand to work this thing. That's how my brain diverted to. So immediately I got an attitude like, what? Man, get up out of here. I know how to work this. You know what I mean? Immediately. And my wife had to check me like, hey, that man just doing his job. Why you tripping? And in my brain, I'm like, yo, this man think I'm dumb. Like, but it wasn't that this man thought I was dumb. It was just me and how I perceived it, how I felt. And that's because my brain takes shortcuts because of my trauma, right? Because of my trauma, my brain takes shortcuts to protect myself, right? So it's always trying to protect my feelings in a way I think. It's always trying to protect, my emotional well-being. So your brain takes shortcuts to protect you, right? That's a strategy that we developed as humans over time, right? But for me, I realized that my brain taking these shortcuts, sometimes it'll take the wrong shortcut, right? It'll take the wrong shortcut. And I present myself as an asshole sometimes because how I perceived it in my brain. And that's the thing that's hard about being a black man with this, because nobody understands you in this way.
You're absolutely right, because being a black man, specifically when we're talking about undiagnosed autism, can lead to your symptoms being attributed to your culture incorrectly and dismissed. And unfortunately, when we're talking about black women, what I see within us when we go undiagnosed is that we are just considered ghetto. We are considered we throw them away. They're direct, they're rude. It's just that we don't want that, right? And we kind of get dismissed. And that does have consequences. But when we're talking about black men specifically, black men's symptoms are seen as a threat, okay? They're seen as dangerous. They're miscategorized all the time. And because of the way that we operate, specifically in America, I'm talking about, we get into this spot where black men get killed, okay? And even earlier than that, if we go back into the systems of schooling, black men are more frequently suspended. There are a lot of men that I grew up with that I love to my core to this day, that I know looking back are autistic.
A lot of us, right? And what she's saying is everything that I said earlier, right? Me as a child, I was looked at and labeled as bad, right? I was looked at and labeled as like, this kid can't get it together. He retarded. He acting retarded. He was trained to do this right, but he just doing what he want to do. I would get my butt whooped for not taking out the trash. I would get my butt whooped for not doing my homework. All of these different things. And my actions were actually looked at as worse than other kids, because I got suspended from Catholic school for opening up the stapler and shooting the staple at the floor during class. And it was something that my white friend in the same class showed me just 2 minutes before I did it. He opened up the staple and he shot at the floor, and the teacher said, Johnny, stop doing that. And then I grabbed the staple. I was like, oh, snap. I opened it up and I shot it at the floor. And she said, Justin, go to I'm tired of you. Go to the principal's office. And I was expelled from Catholic school that day. I was expelled for doing the same thing that a white student was doing. And I remember my dad whooped me, man. I got whooped for it, right? I was punished for doing something else that somebody else did, something that I watched somebody else do, and then I just repeated, right? And I got whooped for that. And I was punished, and I was immediately placed on this system, right? This we call it the school to prison pipeline, right? This kid ain't functioning right. We don't know what's wrong with him. It was, why can't you be more like your sister? It was, I don't know why this kid don't want to do what he's supposed to do. He's smart enough to learn. I don't know why he don't want to focus. I don't know why he want to do all of these things, right? And eventually, that led me to jail. It led me to prison. Why? Because I have this ADHD, right? And I have this problem with emotional regulation. I have this problem with executive functions and decision making, proper decision making. So I'm making poor decisions, right? I know that they're poor decisions, but in my mind, I'm justifying them in a way to make it make sense to me, right? Yeah, you go ahead and steal this money. You know, you need to get this money, so go ahead and steal it. Go ahead and do this crime. Go ahead and do this, whatever this is, right? So a lot of my behaviors, right, is looked at as this is a societal norm for the black man. He lazy. He don't want to work. All of this other stuff, right? It's made to look like that this is just part of who you is as a person. Like, this is who you are as a person because you're a black man. And that's how I was feeling, right? Being punished. So understanding as a 41-year-old man that, man, you had ADHD the whole time, and this was the reason why your brain don't never turn off, why these voices in your head don't never shut off. This is why you develop coping mechanisms. I started smoking in the sixth grade. I was walking to school with my lunch money that my dad would give me. He would give me $2 every day, right? He'd give me $2 every day for lunch, because my dad was a firefighter, so I was never a free lunch nigga unless he you know, fudged the application like sometimes our people would do, right? So I was never a free lunch kid. My dad would give me $2 for school. I'd take that $2, I'd walk to the corner store and get me 3 cigarettes for $1. Back in the day, I mean, it might have been 4 for $1 back in the day. I don't remember. It might have been 4 cigarettes for $1. So I used to give me 4 cigarettes. I used to take the other $1, give me $1 worth of penny candy, or give me a 50-cent soda and some penny candy, and I walked my butt to school, smoked my cigarette in the 6th grade. I was doing that in the 6th grade. And like I said before, that was my way of coping with stress, emotional regulation. That was my way of dealing with anxiety, all these different things that I was dealing with at such an early age, right? And for me, that ADHD, having that undiagnosed ADHD, how it presented itself was in me acting out. It was in anger. It was in constant anger. Me always wondering what people are lying about, like what they not telling the truth about. I saw that parents lied very early in life. I recognized that. See, when you have pattern recognition, that comes with ADHD, you see things. And I saw parents lie. They don't do nothing but lie. Man, they lied to me about the Santa Claus. They lied to me about the Easter Bunny. Shit, they lied about the Tooth Fairy. They lied about the Tooth Fairy. What else are they lying about? What else are they lying about? So when my dad would tell me, oh, don't go to this, don't do this, because you're going to end up like a bum. You're going to end up like this. You're going to do that. I'd be like, man, you lying. You ain't telling the truth. You just trying to stop me from having fun. You're trying to stop me from being like everybody else. So as a young kid, I acted out because I thought that, for one, y'all just trying to stop me from being what I want to be, from doing what I want to do. And that led me to prison.
Those men and the stuff that they've had to go through, the real life consequences of the stuff they've had to go through, when we talk about going to jail, when we talk about being suspended, when we talk about just death, like, let's be honest about it. Black men get killed because they don't ever get what they need, ever. And unfortunately, that's the real reality of it. And so I would love to hear more Black men speak about this. But just to put this in even deeper perspective, the reason why a lot of Black men don't talk about undiagnosed autism is because they still have not had the privilege to find out.
Facts. We still don't have the privilege to find out. And that's because of society, right? Society tells us that we're normal, so you got to be normal, right? There's nothing wrong with you. I went to my doctor, like totally like, and I'm gonna share something. And back in January, right, of this year, back in January, I was in like this deep, dark depression. And it was deep, man. It was deep. I started to mess up at work. I started to not be able to complete tasks. I would actually go into work 8:30 in the morning, and I would walk out of there just like totally blank. Totally blank. No understanding of how those 8 hours passed or what I did with those 8 hours. I was just going through the motions. I was driving home on autopilot, right? Just basically driving home, don't even know how I'm getting home. And I went through months of that. And it got so bad that finally I was like, man, I got to go speak to somebody. I got to talk to somebody. So I talked to a friend first who was going to school for therapy, to be a therapist. And I spoke to that friend and I started telling them like some of the things that I was going through. And they was like, man, you need to talk to somebody for real. So, you know, part of me was still thinking that this mental illness stuff is not real and that, you know, this is something that they put on us to try to keep us in the pipeline and put us in prison and put us in special needs class or put us on medication. So I didn't really believe in a lot of this stuff. So I was like, all right, you know what, I'll go and I'll just go see because, you know, I do want to get my military discharge upgraded, so maybe this could help me. So I'll go do it, right? So I do my first therapy session, and it really opened my eyes. I took the ADHD test, and she's like, yeah, you have ADHD for sure, adult ADHD, and you probably had it your whole life, the way it seemed like. So, and I still didn't really understand what she's talking about, you know. And I go home, I start telling my family and my friends, and they like, what, you ain't know? We thought you been new. Like, even my own mama was like, oh, I thought you been new. You know, I had ADHD my whole life. And I'm like, damn, nobody never told me nothing. You know, nobody ever told me that. I've never heard that before. Never, you know, never nothing. So now I'm going down this rabbit hole of therapy and understanding therapy and understanding ADHD and things like that. And the more that I start researching it and the more therapy sessions I started going through, I started to become angry. And I realized I was starting to become angry because you go through this all your life blaming yourself for the choices and the decisions that you made throughout your life. And you blaming yourself because people like, yo, you're supposed to be smarter than that. You're supposed to make better decisions than that. Why can't you get yourself together? Why can't you do this like everybody else? And after hearing that your whole life, and then to come to this moment of understanding, damn, this whole time, none of this was my fault. This was the answer the whole time to why I couldn't sit still in class, why I deal with emotional regulation problems, why I was such a terrible father, right? In the beginning, I was a terrible father. And I didn't realize that it was actually because of my ADHD that I was a terrible father. And it's something that we don't talk about enough, especially in the black community. We get painted as terrible fathers, and we get painted as worthless. We get painted as, you know, we're not trying to do for our children, right? And a lot of times, man, when you don't understand things, it's easy to judge. It's easy to think how can you not do this? And this is just, man, but you don't understand. For a person with ADHD, understand this, the way our brains work, I could have 10 tasks to do, right? 10 things to do, right? Are you a regular person? You're a regular neurotypical person. You'll see those 10 tasks and you'll be like, all right, I got to wash the dishes. I got to fold the clothes. I got to do the laundry. You might start in an order. You might go through the path of least resistance, or you might do the hardest task first, and you just start knocking those tasks out, right? But for someone who doesn't have a neurotypical brain, right, when you throw 10 tasks at them, that becomes an endless process. It becomes an endless list of things that you got to do. And it's because I'll see those 10 things, right? Okay, I got to wash the dishes. I got to fold the clothes. I got to take the dog out. I got to wash this. I got to do this, right? I'll start one task, right? I might start washing the dishes. In the middle of washing the dishes, I'm going to see, oh, the trash needs to go get taken out. So I'm going to go take the trash out. And then when I take the trash out, I might see, oh, damn, I forgot to lock my car doors. And I might go in my car, and when I get in my car, now I'm going to see, oh, shit, you left your vape in here. You left all this stuff in here. Let me get this stuff together. Now I'm starting to clean my car out. And I forgot everything about the dishes and the other list of things that I had to do. And then now somebody calls me, hey, Justin, you want to come to this community event? It's at 6 o'clock tonight. All right, man, I'll be there. Now I got to spend 3 hours getting ready to go to your event now. So now I done forgot everything that I had to do on my list because now I'm focused on getting ready for your event in 3 hours at 6 o'clock tonight. Now my whole day is gone. I done killed my whole day. It's just gone. And for me, in my brain, it's like, damn, I knew I had 10 things I was supposed to do today, but this happened, interfered me, and then now I'm off on this tangent and I'm gone. I missed the whole day. And when I was younger, it would look like, let me explain something before I go off on this tangent. Like, the reason why a lot of black males get looked at as bad fathers, especially that have ADHD, is because when you have ADHD, it's hard. If you don't see somebody every day, if I don't see you every day, it's hard for me to put you on the forefront of my brain. I don't know how to properly explain this, but I've always had friends that I didn't have to see every day, and we friends, and we can still be friends. Like Big E was the kind of guy that I didn't have to see every day. I didn't have to talk to him every day, but whenever we did talk, we always kicked it right back to where we was. And I never liked friends that had to be on top of you every day. You know, that was never my thing. And I would always phase people out that was trying to be too close. In my ADHD brain, though, if I don't see you every day or if I don't have a constant reminder of you every day, it's really easy for me to forget you. And I didn't understand that for a long time throughout my life. And now I'm starting to get like a little understanding of it. But even with my own son, this is my junior, my firstborn child. I never got a chance to develop that emotional connection with him because when he was born, I was in the military. So I never got to see him born. I didn't get the chance to see him until he was maybe 3 or 4 months old, and I was able to spend 2 weeks with him, and then I had to go right back into the military. So I didn't develop that bond, you know, that mothers develop when you first have a child. So growing the first few years of his life, right, it was always like a constant fight to remember, like, yo, you got a son, you got a son, you got a son, you got to send money home, you got to call, talk to him, you need to go visit him. You know, these things I had to constantly remind myself. Otherwise, like I said before, you get through your day and 50 million things interrupt you and then cause you to go all these different directions. And then all of a sudden, when you were going to call him, now all of a sudden you forgot to call him. And now that goes from, oh, I haven't talked to him for a week. Now I haven't talked to him for a month. And then that turns from, I haven't talked to him a month to 3 months. And then all of a sudden you remember all of a sudden on his birthday, oh, it's his birthday today. Let me call my son. I haven't talked to him for months. Right? And people don't understand that when they don't understand that you're a person like me that struggles with this. I struggle with that with even my own mama. I have to remember to call my mama. My mama calls me every single day. And I realize that she calls me every single day because I will go like months without talking to people that I love, that I truly love. I will go months without talking to you. And it's because of my brain. It's the way my brain works, having ADHD. Like, I process things different, and if I don't see you all the time, you're not in my face all the time, then it's not that you're not important to me. It's just not, you're not a priority in that exact moment. So it's very easy for me to forget people that I care about. And people don't understand that. And that's why I think what she's saying, it is important for us to talk about these things more. Because people need to understand you. People need to understand so that they can be able to support you better, right? Being that my mom understands my ADHD, she knows, like, I'm going to call this dude every day if I have to. And she will call me every day. My mama called me every day, 2-3 times a day. And I love it, you know, where in my younger years, I didn't like it so much, right? In my younger years, I didn't care for it too much. Why is she always checking up on me? Dang, I can't do nothing, right? But now I enjoy it, and I look forward to it because it keeps me focused. It keeps me balanced. It keeps me in reminder, like, yo, my mama care about me. I need to make sure I always tap in with my mama, right? But if you don't have that, or if you have opposition when you talk to somebody, then it's not going to make you want to do those things, right? And that's where the ADHD comes in. Anytime that there's a feeling of being forced to do something, you're not going to want to do it. So you're not going to do it. And that's why a lot of times our behaviors get represented in that light, like she's talking about.
I'm talking about. We get into this spot where black men get killed, okay? And even earlier than that, if we go back into the systems of schooling, black men are more frequently suspended. There are a lot of men that I grew up with that I love to my core to this day, that I know looking back are autistic. Those men and the stuff that they've had to go through, the real life consequences of the stuff they've had to go through, when we talk about going to jail, when we talk about being suspended, when we talk about just death, like, let's be honest about it. Black men get killed because they don't ever get what they need, ever. And unfortunately, that's the real reality of it. And so I would love to hear more black men speak about this.
That's what we doing.
But just to put this in even deeper perspective, the reason why a lot of black men don't talk about undiagnosed autism is because they still have not had the privilege to find out. Because they still have just been taught to believe that they are doing this because they hood and they ain't got nothing, and all these other lies that society tells them. And literally, people put blocks in place purposefully to make sure that they can't make it out of those situations.
Yeah.
And those are the real conversations that I want to dig into and have. Because when we're talking about this undiagnosed and the consequences of being undiagnosed when you're a person of color, sometimes even I leave black men out this conversation, but there's real consequences for it. So
Yeah, real consequences for them. See, what she's explaining is like everything that has happened to me through my life. Like, I've had these systems that have been oppressing me, whether it be child support, whether it be the criminal justice system. These systems have actually been roadblocks in my life to actually stop me from making progressive change. I've been paying 55% of my income to child support for it's been over 15 years. My son is 22 years old. He's in college, and I'm still paying. He lives in New Jersey. New Jersey doesn't believe in setting my child support based upon what I make. They set the child support based upon New Jersey's cost of living. And every year I get a cost of living adjustment, and every year my child support goes up. Currently, my child support is set at $900 a week. There's no way I can afford $900 a week, so they settle with 55% of my income. I was last working at a community action agency, grossing $1,700 every 2 weeks, and only bringing home $612. So dealing with this type of system over me for all of these years, I've tried to fight them. I've tried to put in adjustments. I've tried to do all these hearings and things. Every time it comes back denied. Every time they tell me, oh, I need to come to New Jersey. I need to speak to the judge in person. And all of those things I'm not able to do, right? I can't just get up and leave my job, leave my family here, and subject myself to being thrown in jail, right? We can't do that. So what we do, we just pay it. We just keep going, right? And you figure out other ways to deal with life. That's just been my way of dealing with things, right? Just to avoid it. With the criminal justice system, right? Anytime in my life that I've been late on child support or didn't pay child support, the first thing they do is suspend your license. So with that being said, as a 41-year-old man, my license has been suspended probably over 8 times. I have over 8 driving on suspended charges. I've been to jail for driving on suspended license. And all of those things, I'm just trying to provide for myself, trying to live right, trying to take care of my child, trying to do what I'm supposed to do. But the systems were actually hurting me, harming me, and keeping me in a place of not being able to elevate myself, elevate my life, or do anything constructive with myself, right? Other than just to do the same menial task over and 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 over again, right? And I started to realize that this is detrimental to our health, right? These are the things that cause us more harm than they do good. So I started to speak out about it. I started to speak up. I even went to my CEO of my organization. I'm like, do you know that this is what I'm getting paid? And they have no idea, right? They're like, this is crazy. And I do that, and I share these things just so that we can have better awareness, so we can have better understanding that everybody is not like you, right? being neurodivergent has led me to this understanding of people better, and understanding that, you know, being different is okay. First of all, it's okay to be different. But what's not okay is not to be understood. And with all the information and science that we have today, we should understand people a lot better, and we should make more room for people, because what I'm learning is autism looks different in everybody. It looks different.
I'm autistic. Of course, I listen to the same 12 songs all day, every day, on repeat. I'm autistic. Sometimes I ask questions that really don't got an answer. Who was God's dad? I'm autistic. I won't eat a hot dog, but I eat the fuck out of a piece of bologna. I'm autistic. I walk on my tippy toes everywhere I go. I'm autistic. If I buy some of the same thing over and over, I'm gonna keep the wrappers from it. I'm autistic. Of course, people tell me all the time, you don't look autistic, like I can just perform autism. I'm autistic. I eat the same foods over and over and over and over and over again and never get tired. You autistic too. What's your piece to the...
Listen, I love that video, man. I love that video because, man, that is so me. I eat the same things over and over and over again. I listen to the same music over and over and over and over again until I get tired of it. And then I find a new set of songs, and then I listen to those set of songs over and over and over and over again. Now, you look at my Spotify end-of-year wrap-up, it's hilarious. And I realized that this is just me, right? But now I'm starting to realize that it's not just me. There's other people like me, right? We just don't share these things. We don't share it with the world because the world is not like us, so we feel like this need to conform to the way everybody else is. And I just want to be the prime example of this, because a lot of people see me and they think like so many things of me. And at the end of the day, I laugh because you just have no idea. Like, I'm really shy. I have social anxiety like a mug. I used to blame it on prison. I thought it was prison that made me like this, but I've been like this my whole life. I hate social settings. I perform well in social settings to your public eye, but in the reality is I hate it. I'm shy. I don't like to talk to people. That's why I won't look you in your eye. I'm going to look past you. You think I'm looking in your eyes, but I'm looking at your eyebrows, or whatever the case may be. And it takes a lot of energy for me to show up in public spaces because of that. Like, when I get to public places, I feel everything. I feel all the energy in that place, that setting. I feel like every eye is on me. I feel like everybody watching me. But I also feel like I feel everybody's feelings at the same time. So this is why I don't like funerals. I don't really go to funerals. Because in funeral settings, I could feel everybody's sadness. Like, I can't explain it, but I can feel everybody's sadness. So I go home and that sticks with me for a long time. I can't shake it. When things happen in the community, I feel it. Like, certain things, certain situations the community goes through as a whole, I feel them harder than other people. So it's harder for me to deal with a lot of social settings. And I realize that a lot of that is just because of my autism and ADHD. And I find myself having to explain to people more why I don't show up, or why I haven't been coming to things, and why I don't participate, or why I don't want to do this, or why I don't do that. And I'm like, man, I just need to tell people. Because they think that I'm regular, they think I'm like you, and they think I'm like everybody else, and they just don't have no clue that I have this extreme ability to mask. Extreme ability to mask. I taught myself to rap, and I taught myself to be able to get on stage and to rap, and being as shy as I am, like, it's crazy. Like, it's crazy. I have such a fear of public speaking, but people wouldn't know it because of the way I jump on stage and rap, and people think that I'm comfortable doing it. And the whole time I have like severe amounts of anxiety. There's a million thoughts that are running through my head when I do it. Like, even just walking up on stage in my head, I'm like, don't fall, don't fall, don't fall, don't trip, don't trip, don't trip. Don't mess up in front of everybody. Don't do this. Don't do this. You're going to look goofy. You're going to do this. What they looking at right now while you doing it? You know, I got these million thoughts in my head while I'm doing them tasks that people think that is easy. So I started opening up just to show people that we're different. We all different. And sometimes when you're neurodivergent, it's easy for people to misunderstand you. It's easy for people to think that you don't care. You don't have no emotional feelings to things. It's easy for people to think that you're just self-serving and that you're narcissistic. When the reality is that you're just different. You're neurodivergent and you're different. And because of that neurodivergency, it's made you express yourself in a different way that most people would never understand. And that's okay. That's okay. It's okay for us to be different. It's okay for us to, represent ourselves in a different way sometimes, man. But that's all I really got to say on ADHD and neurodivergency for today. I'm going to be bringing on more experts to talk about this because I think that we need more information on this topic. And as I learn, I'm going to share. As I grow, I'm going to continue to share the things that I learn and I understand, because I was that child that was punished, man. I had my ass whooped a lot. I got a lot of lumps on this head. I got a lot of scars on my body, a lot of bruises on these knuckles from punching on people, a lot of knots on my head from getting punched on. For my whole life, dealing with all of these things and being asked why you do this stuff and why you act the way you act. For my whole life. And to finally wake up and to understand and to see that there's an answer for all of these things. All of these questions that I always wanted to know, there's an answer for them. And there's a real answer. And it's not an excuse. It's not an excuse. But when you understand trauma, ADHD, neurodivergency with the autism, then you can start to understand why people do some of the things that they do. And if we can understand why they do some of the things that they do, then we can understand how to help them. And that's been my biggest thing on this whole journey was, how can I stop somebody from going through the things that I went through in my life? How can I stop that young man from going through homelessness? How can I stop that young man from going through teen pregnancy? How can I stop that young man from going to jail or going to prison? How can I stop that man from being on child support his whole life? How can I stop this young woman from dealing with, baby daddies that are worthless? How can I stop this young woman from having to be on the system for her whole life or having to subject herself to subsidized living her whole life? How can I help this person not have to go through the things that I'm going through in my life right now? That's my whole focus. So when y'all hear me talking and you see me out here and sometimes you don't like how I talk or don't agree with how I spit the message, just understand that, first of all, I'm just a little different. A little different. I don't mean to be rude. That's not where I'm coming from. I'm coming from a place of love, coming from a place of understanding, and it starts with self. Anything that I say to you, I'm willing to say to myself, right? I learned, why were you a piece of crap dad? What can you do to make yourself a better dad? What tools can you add to help and make sure that you are a better dad, right? How can you make yourself a better man so that you can go to work and not quit on your job after 3 months? How can you do these things, and how can you do this, and how can you do that? That's what I'm about now. It's trying to help people heal, uplift, and encourage them, and give you the tools and the resources that you need to survive. Because I wasn't given those tools, those resources that I needed to survive. I was taught that I'm going to school acting retarded. I was told I'm acting like a dummy. I was told that you're not conforming to society like everybody else is. Those were the things that I was told. That I wasn't good enough. That I wasn't trying hard enough. That I wasn't working hard enough. Never was I once told that, hey, your mother has ADHD, so maybe you might have ADHD too. Maybe this explains what's wrong with you. I was never told these things. So I was left to deal with and figure these things out on my own. And that's why I wanted to share with you guys this journey, this part of my journey, because it's not only is it satisfying, like, to get to this point in life of understanding, because now you have no cares. Like, I don't worry about nothing. You know what I'm saying? I don't worry about things that I used to worry about. But what's freeing about it is understanding, like, I'm not alone in this journey. I'm not alone in this journey. There's a lot of men and women just like me that have had to come to their own understanding of this, that have had to, like, figure out how to deal with this life, living with this gift. Because I call it a gift. It's not, to me, it's not a disability, right? Even though it is a disability, I have a double mind when it comes to this. Even though it is a disability, right? It's not a disease, though, right? It's not a disease. You can't pray this away. So don't be trying to pray to God. Go, God, please take away that boy ADHD. No, leave me alone. Don't pray them type of prayers for me. Because at the end of the day, I've come to realize that this is a special gift from the Most High God. Most of the most brilliant minds in our history, some of the most brilliant minds in our history have been autistic. Some of the most brilliant minds in our history have been autistic. Some of the most creative of creators have been autistic. And I realized that when you have ADHD, this is a special gift. You have a gift to be able to deal with pressure and trauma. You have this built-in resiliency that others don't have. You have this beautiful gift, this ability to feel emotions of people. You have this ability to recognize patterns, right? And to use those patterns to come to an understanding. These are beautiful gifts. And now that I've learned them, I'm starting to learn them. I'm starting to embrace these gifts. So yeah, I may not be on time. Yeah, Justin may not be on time when I show up. Yeah, I might smell like some grass when I show up. But understand, this is me, right? This is me. It's how I present myself. But I'm not late because I don't care. I'm not late because I think I don't value your time. That's not it. That's not it. If I keep interrupting you when we talking and we in conversation and I keep over talking you, it's not that I think that I'm right or that I think you're wrong, or it's not that I'm trying to over dominate the conversation. No, I'm actually just listening. This is me being an active listener. Because if you talking to me and I'm staring at you, I'm just staring at you, I ain't even there. My mind gone. I'm thinking about what's for dinner tonight, when I'm finna cook tonight. My wife get off at 5:30. I got to make sure I'm on time. I can't be late to pick up my wife. That's for sure. Can't do what they talking about. I don't even know. But you know what I'm saying? I'm going to just keep acting like I'm listening. Yep. Yeah. That's it. Yeah. But if I'm interrupting you and I keep talking over you, now you know I'm listening. I'm listening. That's my way of showing you, like, I'm engaged in this conversation. We're engaged, right? So when you're working with me in these spaces, just understand that you just got to leave a little bit of room for me, right? Just understand that I'm not going to do it all the way that you do it. It's not going to look the same. But at the end of the day, I'm going to get it done in my special way. And that's what I've learned about being neurodivergent, is that I'm not going to do everything the way you do it. It's not going to look the same. It might look totally different from how you do it. But at the end of the day, just judge me on how I get the job done. Judge me on how I get the job done. But save room for understanding and knowing that I'm just going to be a little different. Sometimes I'm not going to be present all the time. Sometimes I may not show up to every event. Sometimes I may not be in a good mood when I do show up to some events. But if I show up, that means I care. Even if I'm late, that means I care. I put that on priority for me to be there. Because when my brain works, the way my brain works, if I don't see you every day, if I don't, think about you all the time, you become like on the back shelf of the archives and the hard drive. And when you're in the back shelf of the archives and this hard drive, there's a lot of other things, processes that's happening at the same time. So it's easy for you to get put on the back burner. So sometimes you might have to remind me. I tell people this all the time now. If we have a meeting, sometimes you might need to remind me. Hey, send me a message. Hey, you still coming? Hey, Justin, don't forget we got this event this weekend. It's not that I don't care about what you got going on in your life or I don't care what you're doing. It's just that I need this little extra attention for me, right? For me. And that's what we need to do for more people is understanding. And I think that's what the true definition of having equity in everything in life is. Like, we need to make sure that we are creating a society where everybody is comfortable, no matter what they are or who they are, what they're going through in life, what kind of disability they have, because we do know people with disabilities can work. People with disabilities, we can work. And even us high-functioning people with disabilities like myself, I'm a high-functioning disabled person. Even a high-functioning disabled person like me, we're going to go through struggles, right? And we need to have environments where people make room for our struggles, right? They need to make just a little room, and it just might be a little small accommodation, right? It might just be a small accommodation, like understanding that Justin ain't going to be on time every time. He going to be on time 90% of the time. But understand, for me to be on time, it takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of energy. When you tell me that we have a meeting at 6 o'clock at night, I'm preparing for that meeting all day long. All day long, I'm preparing for that meeting at 6 o'clock. I might start preparing at 2 o'clock just for our 6 o'clock meeting. And that's how it is for somebody with ADHD, because in my brain, I have to constantly keep myself on the clock. Being in the military, you're taught to be on time. So you have to train yourself. You have to drill it in your brain. So for me to be on time, I've drilled that in my brain for 40 years. I've been drilling that in my brain. You got to be on time. You got to be on time. You got to be on time. So for me to be ready for an event at 6 o'clock at night, I'm already starting at 2 o'clock. At 2 o'clock, I'm starting. This is what I'm going to wear. I got to put everything out. This is what you got right here. This is what you're going to get it. Make sure all of my stuff is accessible so that I can find it. And then all throughout the day, I'm looking at the time. Okay, it's 3 o'clock now. I got 3 more hours. It's 4 o'clock now. I got to start doing this. It's 5 o'clock now. We got to do this. We got to do this. I got to prepare myself to be in this social setting. And then finally, 5:30 comes, I'm on the clock now. I'm on the gun now, because now I'm doing all of this extra stuff and I'm rushing. 5:45, I'm running out the door. I'm fighting traffic now, speeding, trying to get to this meeting at 6 o'clock so that I'm not be late. I might show up at 6:01, 6:02. Even though I've been looking at this meeting all day long, knowing that my appointment is at 6 o'clock, it just takes all of that, and I'm still late. I can't help it. I'm sorry. Just understand this is me, right? Understand that this is me. Thank you, brother. I appreciate you for sharing the message today, man. I definitely salute all my brothers, especially if you like me and you've been going through undiagnosed ADHD your whole life. And you're understanding, like, why am I forgetful things? Why am I always forgetting things? Why am I always late? Why am I always doing this? Why I get angry and upset all the time and have no idea how to handle my emotions? If you like me, man, then you need to share this message, man. And also start talking to somebody, man. Find you a therapist. Find you a good therapist to work with. And it ain't always got to be about taking pills. Let me share that part. So when I first started going through this journey, I said I wanted to understand every aspect of it. So I started taking the medication. I started taking the Adderall to see how I would feel on it, see how it would make my life better in any way. And I started taking it. And at first I was like, okay, I could see why people take this. You know, it gave me a boost, man. I was efficient. I'm starting to get things done. I had more energy. I wasn't getting tired in the middle of the day like I normally do. And it was working for me for a long time. And it even quieted the voices for a while. But the longer that I was on it, the more I started to feel like it wasn't working like it was when I first started taking it. And I started to increase my dosage. And through the doctor, of course. And I'm talking to the doctor. I'm like, yo, I like this part, but then I don't like this part about it. Like, I'm feeling like stuck, and sometimes like I'm getting over focused on certain things. Like now I'm in the wormhole of TikTok for 3 hours and I can't get myself out of it, you know, or now I'm on the task and I'm working a task and I'm just getting too perfect. Like I'm trying to be a perfectionist with every little thing, and I'm just overlooking things and just overworking things and just trying to make things perfect. And now spending too much time on subjects and things like that. So I started to get to the point where, man, you don't need this all the time. And it took for trial and error for me to get to this point. But I started to realize that for me, and this is me personally, and it's not for everybody. It's not going to work for everybody. For me, I self-manage my ADHD through my coping mechanisms, right, that I've developed for myself. And I've come to learn that I like my natural brain state, even though it's chaos to most people, having all of these thoughts in your brain all the time, being able to have all of these emotions, feeling these different emotions all the time, right? Having this outside the box way of thinking, right? I've come to use those things and enjoy that side of me, even the darkness. Like Bane said in that movie, like you gotta be comfortable with the darkness. Like I became comfortable with the darkness, even the darkness in myself, right? Like I become comfortable with that. Like those voices inside that I feel, those feelings that I feel inside, I become comfortable. I've learned how to navigate them. So even when I do have that feeling of, man, this dude talking to me disrespectful, now I'm able to dissect that inside of my head. Like, why do I feel this way? Why do you feel this way? Going through therapy has helped me. It's given me tools to actually process those feelings now. So now I don't shun them. I don't turn it off. I don't try to turn it off. I embrace it. So I've learned to embrace the ADHD and the autism. So now I know, like, yo, it's okay to play with this yo-yo and not feel weird. Like when I play with this yo-yo in the hood, people see me with this yo-yo in the hood, and I'm flicking this sucker around, playing with this sucker, I don't feel weird now because I know it's just me. I don't care what you say. I don't care what the gangster think. I don't care what nobody think. This is me. I'm comfortable in myself. In my own skin, my own environment, to know that it's okay to be different. To know that it's okay to have different thoughts, to different feelings, to be different from everybody else. I'm cool with it. Like I openly embrace that. So now I don't worry about the things that everybody else worry about. But that takes for you to get to a certain knowledge and understanding of yourself. And that's what I hope to give to other brothers and sisters out here. Because at the end of the day, we all want the same thing, and that's peace. The true peace. Peace that surpasses all understanding, right? And you can't get to that true peace if you don't know yourself. And that's the biggest thing I would like for people to get from this episode is, if you are a person like me, where you've struggled all your life, people asking you what's wrong with you, you can't figure out why you can't seem to do things that regular people seem to do, it may be something to that, man, and you might need to go talk to somebody about it. Go talk to somebody. And I know it's going to be hard. because of the stigmas and all of the challenges, and people think that mental health ain't real, and some doctors even thinking that, you know, black people have some special form of resiliency that other people don't have that makes us stronger to everything. None of that stuff is true, man. Just keep seeking out for real professional help. Find you a real therapist, somebody that you could really talk to, and then really start to break down like some of the real things that you got going on that you feel. You know, it don't make you crazy. It don't make none of that stuff. You know, that's not what it is. It's just about knowledge of self and understanding yourself. Getting to a better place to where you can really understand yourself and figure out what's going on. But man, let me get a quick word for the sponsors real quick before we get out of here. Right now, you're locked into the Community Soldier Podcast, powered by Purpose. Shout out to our sponsor, YPOP Explorers, Young People of Purpose, Jackson, Michigan's powerhouse for young empowerment. Since 2017, YPOP Explorer has been mobilized Jackson's youth through ABCs of success, art, business, culture, and service, driving transformational experience like ground markets, gardens, tech programs, and creative outlets. They've even taken 15 students to Uganda to learn global community building and practices. They have an event coming up September 13th from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. at the MLK Recreation Center. Walk-in Delight Fitness Extravaganza, 5K run, fitness demos, health speakers, and grocery giveaways sponsored by Grow Jackson, Drug Free Jackson, YPOP, The Lighthouse Productions, and Coach Koya. All right, shout out to YPOP, man. Make sure y'all check out their page, man, for more information. They trying to get us active. Want to get us back out in the streets, man. Shout out to them, man. And lastly, let's get one more of our sponsors out of here. Quick shout out to today's sponsor, Printer Source Plus in Jackson, Michigan, proudly serving our area since 2006. Printer Source Plus delivers tailored printing solutions from desktop printers and scanners to wide format copiers and shredders from top brands like Epson, Brothers, Samsung, and Kyocera. Over 19 years, they've been your go-to for top quality and affordability. You need to check them out. Why choose them? Their private label ink and toner reduces your cost by up to 50% compared to OEM, backed by a 100% lifetime guarantee. All right, guys, thank you for tuning in for this morning's edition of the Community Soldier Broadcast. Make sure y'all tap back in with us tonight at 6 p.m. We got a special guest, man. I got a special guest, man. Nathan McDermott and Kate from the Prisoner to Painter podcast. They're going to join us tonight, and they're going to talk about what they got going on. They're going to talk about their message and how they got to the place of healing where they're at now and what they're doing for the community, man. I hope y'all tune in and tap in, because it's going to be a great talk, man. So we'll see y'all again at 6. Make sure y'all share this video, like this video, leave us a comment what you thought about today's episode. And if you would like to be a guest on the show, please, man, all you got to do is send us a message. We'll get y'all on here, man. Hope y'all enjoy y'all day, man. Love and peace.
Grandpa told me you lucky to have one friend. Situations in life coming, you gotta trust them. Found out many times in life you can't trust men. So I rolled solo, that process was an adjustment. Friends let you down, not around when you needing them. Only here to take like a child, got you feeding them. Better off leaving them like salt, that's the seasoning. Killing black people, that sugar really depleting them. Knowledge over ignorance, rising above predicaments. Fighting for equality, speaking for all the innocence. These drugs they been giving us, turning our people vigilant. Innocent dissidents, violence is coming imminent. Gotta fall a couple times to learn the lessons faster. Thinking will it matter if I skip a couple chapters? This life that I'm after got me climbing up the ladder. Won't be another rapper, bankrupt with the chapter. On another mission to get rich, it's big chips. Air past the crown on solid ground, the kid spits. On another level, these devils can't block the business. The kid get psycho with a rifle, get your wig split. Change the game passively in the back so happily. Jersey.